Hey guys, Mrs. Luce here. I just want to talk to you about graphing in science because it is very important and you're going to be doing some. So let's go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about the importance of a graph. One of the things that I really like about a graph is it's like a picture of your data. So instead of being able to understand your data table, I'm able to look at a picture and I can still compare the results without having to get bogged down with all the numbers. The three most common types of graphs are line graph, and that's the one that we do the most, and I'm going to assume you've probably done the least. I'm sure in your elementary years you've done plenty of bar graphs and circle graphs. What kind of data can line graphs display? So since we're in science, we focus mostly on the line graphs. Well, line graphs are used to display data that shows how one variable, which is your dependent variable, changes in response to another variable, your independent variable. Okay, so we're looking at how one affects the other. One variable affects the other. Some important things that you must have in a line graph. I call it Plunkett. So the very critical parts of a graph, and this is something that you should write down, and you should probably use this every time you create a graph. You should go back and say, did I do this? So the first one is P for plot. Did you accurately plot every single dot that you were supposed to, every single intersection between how much one went up and one went over? Exactly. Label. Did you label your axes? That would be the X and Y axis. Did you label them and tell us what exact variable you are graphing? Units. You must tell us what you measured in. If it's a number of something, you need to tell us. If it's number of days, you need to put days. We always put that in parentheses. Okay, so we know what you measured in. It could be centimeters, it could be kilometers, liters, whatever. You need to have those units on there. Neatness. This is the one that many people have a hard time with. But because you have an iPad, you could do it on there and makes it much easier if you do have a hard time with your neatness. A key if needed. Sometimes you need a little box over to the side to tell you, especially for things like double line graphs where you've got more than one line on there, you need to maybe color code it or put little triangles instead of dots for your plots so that we can tell the difference between the two. So sometimes you definitely need a little box to the side, but not all the time. So if you need a key, you should have a key. Intervals. As you go through and you're starting to do your graph, you have to determine what each line represents, and it is a line. So as you're going up, what is the interval? What is the difference between the two numbers from, the bottom one or the bottom line to the top line? What is the difference? So you may go up by tens. You may go up by hundreds. You could go up by fives. Don't do weird stuff where you go up by like seven, though. That's just a little on the strange side. So try to keep it some sort of even, easy to remember number and write those in there. So your intervals need to be wrote down. So you go 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, blah, blah. Or you go 5, 10, 15, 20. Or you go 100, 200, 300. Make sure that they're even. Now, when I say even, I mean even per side. So the x-axis intervals need to be even. Maybe you go up by 25. Let's say you go up by 25. On the other axis, maybe you want to, it needs to be something different. That's perfectly fine. Your intervals need to be even per side, okay? Per axis. The title, you must put some sort of title. The easiest one to remember would be the effect of whatever your independent variable is on whatever your dependent variable is. But you can also come up with something but it must fit your graph. So um, either way is actually fine. Okay, so when you're plotting a graph, you have to start with your axes. Your horizontal axes, that's the one at the bottom. It goes across. That is called your x-axis. It runs left to right. Your vertical axis, that's the one that goes up and down. That is your y-axis. So you start with those. Then you label them. Tell me what they are. What is it that's on each of your axes? Your x-axis is going to be your independent variable. That is the one that is purposely being changed in your experiment. Always goes at the bottom. The dependent variable always goes on your y-axis. And then don't forget those units. You need to create a scale on each side. That would be your intervals. Make sure that they're equally spaced per axis. They both have to start at 0. Don't give me that stuff where you're just going to say, oh, the first 50 don't count. And we're going to, no. They must start at 0 because that's what the intersection for the x and y axis is 0. That's the coordinate, the pair of numbers that determine the position of the point. Okay, then you plot. Plot a point for each piece of data, like 3 and 9. Make sure you do the right one. Is 3 the independent? Make sure you go over for 3 then. If 9 is the dependent, go up for 9. And that is what a data point is, the point showing the location of the intersection of two lines. Okay, a linear graph is going to look like a, excuse me, a straight line. And this is an example of one. A nonlinear line is not straight. So your data points don't fall on a straight line. All right, how do you determine the slope of a graph? A slope is important in math, but slope is also important in science too. The slope is the steepness of your graph. The slope tells you how much y changes for every change in x. So what it is rise divided by run. So how much did it go up is the rise. How much did it go over is the run. Rise divided by run gives you slope. Why are line graphs important tools in science? Well, like I said at the very beginning of this, they give you a picture. It is easy to see what is going on. It is easy to make predictions. For visual people like me, I don't want to look at your data table and try to figure out what's going on. You give me a picture and it makes it so much easier. So I hope this helped you guys, and I hope to be seeing you soon, and have a great one. Bye.